Welcome, Praddyumna sir, Aadarsh sir, to this podcast. So we as a society, right, we feel that अगर हमको करियर किसी चीज में करना है तो उसी तरीके का एजुकेशन लेना चाहिए.
I never had a thought कि अब क्या करें. I used to get buy things. I'm अलग buy कर लिया, हार्ड डिस्क अलग buy कर ली, तो बना के लोगों को मैं CPUs बना के बेचता था.
You both have experienced the 0 to 1 phase.
I think it does leave a mark on your mind somewhere. Even when you see failure so close by.
Like अब मेरे को हमेशा तो बोलते थे कि मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर है तो क्या एडवर्टाइजिंग करेगा. टू बी ऑनेस्ट मुझे तो एडवर्टाइजिंग के बारे में पता भी नहीं था.
It is tough. It is scary. How did you manage to overcome that fear?
I think I had it since my job days as well. Was hope to become something.
Very much on your own, and it could be a lonely journey to begin with until you build your tribe.
I would say people who came in my life at the right point every now and then made my journey very simple. It's people who brought me here.
Welcome, Praddyumna sir, Aadarsh sir, to this podcast. So this podcast is Steps and Stories by SkillJourney, and this podcast is all about tracing career journeys of remarkable personalities like yourselves. So in today's podcast, we are going to discuss about your career journeys and most importantly, the journey that you've had in the past 1 year to 1.5 years, where you have successfully transitioned to an AI first startup. Okay. So let's start with you, Aadarsh sir. You've had such a eminent career for the first 20, 25, 22 years, working with large multinational companies, starting as a software developer to a general manager at John Deere. And eventually you decided to leave all of that to start your own startup.
Thank you, Amay, for the warm introduction and making it sound so good for me, because I think it's been just a regular journey, if you ask me. Have been fortunate enough to have experienced various roles and working in different capacities across organizations in the past. And as a normal engineering graduate, I've gone through the progression, but over a period of time, realized that you have your own inherent capabilities that you could foster and grow with, and I think that helped me throughout my career. Specifically, if you ask me about what triggered the shift from a corporate job to being an entrepreneur, it's a long journey in itself as well. So I was very much enjoying my role at John Deere, having all the responsibilities that I always dreamt of, and doing pretty well for myself as well. However, since my childhood, I always was watching my mom, exhibit the entrepreneurial spirit, and I was always closely involved with her through various ventures, which eventually failed, but the spirit never, went down, and I think that always stuck with me throughout my career as well, and that's when. And that kept playing on my mind, even though I was always engrossed in my day-to-day day job as well. Right. But when COVID struck, I think it was time for all of us to do some introspection. I'm sure you have done that as well. There was enough time for us to spend at home, think about what could be done and what could go well, what could go wrong, all those kind of things. That is when a lot of introspection happened, and all these memories and all these wishes that I harnessed over a period of time came out, and it made me strongly believe that life is getting monotonous, and what I was doing 10 years ago is still probably what I'm doing now, and that's when I realized that this is the time to take the plunge. And fortunately, with my family's support and help, I was able to take that leap of faith. And I'm glad that today I'm here sitting with you or having this chat and talking about this experience, which has been rewarding. not only in terms of growth personally, but also in helping shape careers for the future and building, a company that I would like to see grow from strength to strength.
Awesome, great. Thanks so much for that story and the experiences that you talked about, especially your mother. I definitely want to dig deeper into your early startup journey. But before that, I want to go to Praddyumna. So, Praddyumna, your journey has been very interesting too, in terms of the pivots that you started as a mechanical engineer, then went on to do journalism, then an MBA, and now you have your own startups in the creative field. Right? How would you describe your startup first of all, and then also let us know how did you reach here? I mean, what were the turning points? What were the inspirations along the way?
To be honest, you miss one point that, before even mechanical engineering, I had a very nice experience in terms of selling computers. I used to assemble computers those days when the branded laptops were not available. I used to buy things, RAM अलग buy कर लिया, hard disk अलग buy कर ली, वो बना के लोगों को मैं CPUs बना के बेचता था. So I think I never called it as an entrepreneurship journey or start of an entrepreneurship, but पता नहीं, शायद वही एक शुरुआत थी जहां से मुझे लगा कि ये कुछ अच्छी चीजें कर सकते हैं लाइफ में, बट पता नहीं था. बट लकीली मेरे को कंप्यूटर्स में बहुत इंटरेस्ट था. नंबर एवरेज होने के कारण कभी मेरे को कंप्यूटर साइंस में मिला नहीं ऑप्शन, तो जो मिला वो ये मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग. मैंने कहा मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर तो मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग, जो भी होगा देखा जाएगा. तो यू आस्क्ड वन क्वेश्चन कि हाउ डिड आई रीच टू दिस लेवल. I would say people who came in my life at the right point every now and then made my journey very simple. I never had a thought कि अब क्या करें. कोई ना कोई आता गया जिंदगी में, कभी मेरे मेंटोर आए, कभी मेरे लाइफ में कोई लोग आए जो मेरी टीम ज्वाइन कर रहे थे, तो रास्ते अपने आप ही बनते गए. So for me it was people who were associated with me since day one. रही बात आज की डेट में, तो अगेन इट्स पीपल हु ब्रॉट मी हियर, टू बी ऑनेस्ट.
Awesome. Great. I know everybody needs that self-belief too. And when you mentioned about your early days when you were assembling computers, probably that's where the spark was. I can do something on my own. But that doesn't happen with everyone. And I don't know, Aadarsh, was there a similar kind of an experience that you had early, maybe watching your mom, that gave you the confidence that you could also one day be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think it does leave a mark on your mind somewhere. Even when you see failures so close by, right? I think it teaches you more than the successes that you may see later. So I think when I saw my parents struggling, I think my dad's support to my mom was out of this world. So, but they kept going on from one venture to another. They did not fail. Even though they failed, they did not stop. And even now, my mom still runs a music school. So at the age of almost 80 years old now, both of them. At every stage, if you go back and see, you can always move on. But there's somebody who always pushes you or nudges you a bit more in the right direction. I think those are the angels you always meet. We don't recognize. But then when you look back now, since you mentioned it again, when I look back, I can picture all those people who kind of have supported you in one way or the other. And I think that's extremely important, because everybody carries some kind of motivation, some kind of inspiration within them, but people who can find it and nudge you in the right direction, I think those are the ones you keep forever, right? So I think that's the most important aspect.
I think for me it was sometimes my clients as well. So where I used to work earlier before I started my entrepreneurship journey, थोड़ा एक्सपीरियंस लेने के लिए वहां के मेरे मैनेजर्स, उनके बॉसेस. It was not a planned activity for him. Probably it was a thought process that it started from his family. But मेरी जिंदगी में ऐसा कुछ था नहीं. मेरे को लोग मिलते गए, लोगों की बातें सुनता रहा, तो वो अंदर ही अंदर कहानी बन रही थी, बट पता नहीं थी क्या कहानी बन रही है. सो लकीली मैं जैसे मतलब कि जिंदगी में कोई ना कोई आया हर बार, उसने कुछ ना कुछ थोड़ा सा दिया, अगली राह मिल गई, चलना शुरू कर दिया. फॉर मी इट वॉज जस्ट कीप वॉकिंग, डोंट लुक बैक कि अच्छा ये फेल हो रहा है या पास हो रहा है उसके बेसिस पे जजमेंट लेके नहीं अब ये नहीं कर सकते, जिसमें बहुत सारे लोग फेल हो जाते हैं. मतलब इवन जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो फाइनल ईयर में हैं उनको लगता है कि मेरा एजुकेशन तो इसमें है तो मैं इसी इसमें कर सकता हूँ. तो वो चीज मुझे कभी लगी नहीं फील में, क्योंकि जिंदगी में जो लोग थे वो भी अलग अलग जॉनर से थे, अलग अलग बैकग्राउंड से थे. सो ऐसे ही चलता.
You make a great point. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. You both have experienced the 0 to 1 phase of a startup, of building a startup, very difficult phase.
I have 4.
So during these phases, I mean, what has been more important? The learning that you got, the strategic corporate kind of a structured learning and experiences over there, especially for you others who had a very accomplished corporate career, or it was the raw hustle that you had to do with fundraising, let's say sales, getting that first customer to try your product out. So what is more important? Is there a sequence in which you should do things for young professionals who might want to, start their own journeys? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think I don't want to compare a job with what we do now, because they both are equally important in their own ways. But what probably working for me is, when you're in a corporate life, you're shielded. You have a cushion to rely on, especially when you spend a lot of years. You've seen things happening, you've done things, you've accomplished things. When you have a system that is built around it, you have somebody to take care of your admin needs, you have somebody to take care of your operational needs, you have somebody to take care of the service needs, you have somebody to get you people you need to work with, right? Although you may have to identify them at the end stage. But so you have everything taken care of for you, right? And I think that was the biggest learning for me once I took the plunge, right? You have to do everything on your own. So for me, that was the 0 to 1, right? Not building the company. I'm still probably at 0.5 when it comes to taking the company to 1. But I think the realization that you are very much on your own, and it could be a lonely journey to begin with until you build your tribe, right? So that people attract you, right? So then you again start building that tribe along, and then things start falling into place one by one. But so it's the same if you look at it that way, where you have people and systems in place, but here you have to build that entire ecosystem for yourself, and that's the transition, right? And that was the toughest, if you ask me, and still struggling at it, still learning from it.
I hear you. I know it is very tough. But then Praddyumna did it 4 times, and what made you do it again and again? I mean, it is tough. It is scary. How did you manage to overcome that fear?
One classic or important thing that I think I had it since my job days as well was hope. Hope to become something. What I don't. मतलब कभी ऐसा लगा नहीं कि तो इच्छा तो होती है कि यार कोई कंपनी चालू करिए तो वो उस लेवल तक पहुंचे जहां लोग मुझे रिकॉग्नाइज करें कि अच्छा ही इज द फाउंडर ऑफ दिस कंपनी. Or when you're working, somebody should recognize, okay, this work was done by this guy in this company. This was the only hope that I had when I started working. मतलब जब मैं नौकरी कर रहा था तब मेरी ये इच्छा थी कि यार मेरा कुछ ऐसा काम बाहर निकले जो लोगों को मैं बता सकूं कि ये काम मैंने किया है. क्योंकि जिस फील्ड से मैं आता हूँ, एडवर्टाइजिंग स्पेसिफिकली, उस फील्ड में एडवर्टाइजिंग वालों को कोई रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करता, बिकॉज वो दिखता सिर्फ एक कलरफुल फिल्म है या कलरफुल एड है, पर उसके पीछे लगने वाली मेहनत जिसमें बहुत सारे लोग इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, राइटर्स हो गए, डिजाइनर्स हो गए, कंसेप्चुअलाइजर्स हो गए, सर्विसिंग टीम हो गई, क्लाइंट्स हो गए, ब्रांड मैनेजर्स हो गए, ये लोग कभी सामने नहीं आ पाते. बट ये होता है कि हाँ, मेरा बनाया हुआ काम आज अगर टीवी पे दिख रहा है या किसी आउटडोर मीडिया पे दिख रहा है या कहीं पे भी दिख रहा है जो पब्लिकली ओपन है, वो सक्सेस के पीछे भागने की इच्छा थी शुरू से. उसके बाद जब कंपनी चालू किया तो ये था कि यार मैं जिस पोजीशन पे था वहां पे और भी लोग आके बैठे, अच्छी टीम बने, कुछ अच्छा कर पाए. और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट ये था कि मेरे को ये हमेशा लगता था कि जिस कंपनी को मैं बना रहा हूँ उस कंपनी का नाम जब लोगों के सीवी पे होगा और लोग उस नाम के कारण हायर होंगे, वो एक अचीवमेंट हमेशा से शुरुआत से रहा है कि वो हो। अभी तक कोशिश कर रहे हैं, तो हुआ नहीं है, बट
You said it, right? I mean, the kick that you get out of creating something, the recognition that you get when your product or your creation is acknowledged and
it was hunger to drive that, success.
right. But then it doesn't come so easily, right? I mean,
No,
you
it is
keep
never.
trying and
So 17 years, अभी तक तो 100% नहीं मिला है, but I have realized
right.
every point something new which drives me to the next level.
That's exactly what I wanted to get to. That and the cliche that we always hear that every failure will teach you something, right? So, can you recount some of those learnings maybe from your first couple of startups?
लाइक अब मेरे को हमेशा लोग बोलते थे कि मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर है, तू क्या एडवर्टाइजिंग करेगा। टू बी ऑनेस्ट, मुझे तो एडवर्टाइजिंग के बारे में पता भी नहीं था। मतलब आई कम फ्रॉम अ फैमिली वेयर माई पेरेंट्स हैव बीन सर्विसिंग द नेशन फॉर 40 years। तो उनकी जिंदगी तो नौकरी करने में गई, गवर्नमेंट के लिए काम करने में गई। हमें तो सिर्फ एक ही चीज बता दी जब उस टाइम पे कि या तो आप डॉक्टर बनो या इंजीनियर बनो, उसके अलावा और कोई रोल होते ही नहीं थे। सो जैसे अपने लोग फेल्यूर्स, मुझे ये लगता था कि एक दो यार मैं कंप्यूटर नंबर थोड़ा पढ़ाई ज्यादा कर लेता तो मुझे अच्छी कंप्यूटर साइंस में पढ़ने को मिलता, नौकरी अच्छी मिल जाती, किसी अच्छी 5 स्टार कंपनी में मुझे काम करने को मिलता। बट फेल्यूर्स यही थे कि शायद मैं अगर वो 4 साल की इंजीनियरिंग छोड़ के कोई और डिग्री करता है विच वॉज एसोसिएटेड विद माई करंट प्रोफेशन, इट वुड हैव बीन हेल्पफुल। सो ये समझना कि मेरे लिए क्या काम का है। मैं ये नहीं बोलता हूँ कि मैंने इंजीनियरिंग करके गलती करी। इंजीनियरिंग टॉट मी अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, मतलब हाउ टू लिव लाइफ, हाउ टू सर्वाइव, मतलब फेलियर्स को कैसे फेस करना है, ये सब चीजें मेरे को इंजीनियरिंग से मिली, शायद किसी और डिग्री में मिलती भी नहीं। बट ये नहीं बोलता हूँ कि वो सही डिसीजन था या गलत डिसीजन था। बट अगर मैं शायद किसी ऐसी डिग्री को करता जो मुझे मेरे प्रोफेशन को समझने में ज्यादा आसानी होता, क्योंकि जब मैं इंजीनियरिंग से बाहर निकला तब मुझे कुछ पता ही नहीं था कौन से टर्मिनोलॉजीज का मतलब क्या होता है, किसको किसके सामने यूज करना चाहिए, कुछ भी नहीं पता।
सो वी एज अ सोसाइटी राइट वी फील दैट अगर हमको करियर किसी चीज में करना है तो उसी तरीके का एजुकेशन लेना चाहिए। बट टुडे द वर्ल्ड इज फुल ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज। आई मीन एंड व्हाट यू जस्ट सेड triggered some thought in me that I mean, is it enough to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and then whatever education, whatever stream you go into, as long as you are aware of what you are, you can achieve what you want to.
Agree, right?
The education is just a means.
Just means, correct.
And like you said, engineering actually was a means for you to get into advertising.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, which might sound very weird to some people, but in a funny enough way, there was so
I'll tell you the sequence, what happened actually. So, I never knew advertising, what it was. I never knew whether this field also exists in the real world. But luckily, 3rd year के टाइम पे मेरा एक दोस्त आया, मेरे को बोलता है कि मैं दिल्ली से था, तो मेरे पास अकेले, मेरे हॉस्टल में मेरे पास अकेले के पास एक लैपटॉप था, विंडोज एक्सपी डेज। सो उसने बोला यार फिल्म बनानी है, तू बनाएगा क्या? तो उस टाइम हम लोग मीडिया सेंटर एडिशन जो चलता था एडिटिंग का, मेरे पास वो था। मेरे दोस्त ने मुझे बोला कि यार फिल्म बनानी है। मैंने कहा मैं बनाते हैं, चल। बोला मैं पैसा ऐसा खर्चा नहीं करूंगा, मेरे पास है नहीं पैसा खर्चा करेगी तेरी फिल्म में। बोला नहीं, अपन सब शूट करेंगे, तू सिर्फ एडिट कर देना क्योंकि तेरे पास लैपटॉप है। But there was no reason for me to think about filmmaking at all. But it just came to me, I did it and we won the film award. So it triggered कि यार ये भी एक फील्ड है जो इंजीनियरिंग से हटके है, सेम भूख है, सेम चैलेंजेस हैं, हर चीज वही है, बट एक अलग फील्ड है। Why not try this? And that drove me to advertising, to be honest. That was a trigger point, I would say. नहीं तो मुझे पता भी नहीं चलता।
Wow. So, Aadarsh, like Praddyumna mentioned, he switched from, let us say, engineering to advertising. In your case, that did not happen. I mean, you have been in a software or related to software industry, and you now are running a software industry. But I'm sure there were many changes along the way. And if we think about the past couple of years, or let's say 1.5 years, the software world has changed probably on its head, right? I mean, what was earlier a coding heavy industry, or was it? I don't know, but has it become more of a problem solving industry than coding? I mean, what is your experience in the last few months?
Evolution. We keep talking about that, right? So I think uh, the way last 6 months have shaped up for us, especially in the industry, and the way things are going, it is drastic, right? So I remember having these conversations about a year ago where we were all wondering how much of a threat is AI, right? How will we adapt to it? What is going to happen? Uh, what is really the impact on us as a company or the people that we have on our teams and so on and so forth. But I think addressing the challenge head on is what is required in any time, whether it's AI or any other challenge that you're facing, right? So the moment you realize that this is an upcoming challenge, you want to understand more, you want to increase your awareness, you want to educate yourself about it. The more you do that, you are better prepared to handle anything that comes your way. And I think the way we have tackled it is what I'm happy about today, because collectively as well, right? So we have been brainstorming, understanding how this is going to impact us, getting our hands dirty, right? Realizing how things are going to change in the industry as a whole. And now we have a better perspective of what this is all about. And is it really that threatening? Or is it something that needs to happen and is something revolutionary for the entire industry as well? So I think that's where we are beginning to go towards. And I am happy to note that the industry is also now accepting it and not treating it as a threat anymore. So even though there are certain pockets where things are still considered that way, and it is impacting roles, impacting other situations, but I feel the mindset towards awareness, education, and learning, and then adapting towards the upcoming change is what the industry should move towards. And the faster we are towards that aspect, I think we will be in a safer environment.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But if you look at the world outside and how you mentioned that it has been an evolution. I don't know. It has been fairly fast for an evolution, right? I mean, it probably seems like a quantum jump rather than an evolution. We suddenly went from here to somewhere 10 steps above without realizing how did this happen. It was probably happening somewhere in the background. Uh, and that has happened in all industry, right? I mean, you mentioned about software because the impact is almost immediate. But even Praddyumna, in your industry, there are AI influencers now. You are building a creator platform for brands where these creators are, being the agents or influencers. With AI influencers also coming in, like AI coders also coming in, how big a threat, how big a fear is it for your creators, human creators?
I don't think so. That would affect quite large in terms of what brands would probably need. For a simple reason, advertising principles never change. The medium might. Like you said something about AI coders. I feel that if you use it, if you learn to use it for your benefit, it helps. If you treat it as a threat, or if you think "Arey, ye to bhi mere kaam ka nahi," if you start rejecting that activity, it becomes a problem for you. I would say it has a great creative power. How do these individuals, the content creators, would probably use it for their own benefit to make their content much better, much reasonable, and much scientific in terms of what brand science says, would be an opportunity for them.
Of course, I mean, everybody says this, that, use AI to benefit you. But if AI is going to take away our core skills, or if our core skills are being replaced by AI, people have this fear that, what is my worth? So how do you encourage your team members, like say your creators, to kind of continue on this journey to learn AI? How do they find value in themselves again?
I don't know what would be the next bang that would come in the AI world. But what it has right now, what it can't do is the story building, the emotions that a human can. AI can't. So obviously, so theater teaches a lot of things to us, whether it is in the real life or in drama or anywhere else. So these skills are core skills. If you know the tactics, if you know the science, how do you project yourself? I don't think so AI would be able to threaten us in terms of our own skills. मुझे नहीं लगता कि वहां पे भी फर्क पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आप अगर उस चीज को सही तरीके से अपने बेनिफिट के लिए यूज कर सकते हो, tweaking it better to better your content, I think it's a biggest tool that they can use.
I think the message that I'm getting is that you're empowering your creators
Yeah.
or influencers rather than replacing them.
I do get some instances where people reject using any kind of AI, even voices. It rejects screens or visuals. But I see again, everything is not possible. We are having a pool of thousands and thousands of content creators. Everybody is not going to get benefit out of that. Somebody has to improve somewhere. We can probably use it to learn better, project better, and make use of it.
So others, you in your industry, you focus on efficiency and growth. Praddyumna said he focuses on storytelling, content generation. Do you see a big problem still in your industries which you feel like AI could solve in the next foreseeable future, let's say 6 to 12 months?
Very difficult question to answer. I'm sure there are lots of problems that could be solved. I think the thing that I talk to about with my team members is that, you now have a second brain, right? So imagine yourselves equipped with two brains and what you can do, right? Don't forget your primary brain. You still do a lot of thinking, the ideation. That is what your primary brain does, and that's what it is good at. So that's something that will never change, right? But now you can delegate. Once you ideate and you have those, creative juices flowing, you can delegate it to your second brain to do things for you, which was not there before. So I think that's the evolution that we need to understand and hop on to as quickly as possible. Because if we are able to leverage that to the extent possible, I think then the possibilities could be endless, right? And we may be becoming more and more efficient at doing it during the course of time. And I think that's where the jobs, the roles, the responsibilities will also evolve with time, because nobody knows, as I said, nobody knows how roles are going to change, how responsibilities are going to change, whether the AI solutions themselves are going to be that effective or not. It's still debatable. But I think understanding the power that you have to these agents, to these whatever tools you have now available, what they can do for you and how to leverage them, no harm in understanding that and knowing that and making the most of it. And I think if people can master that to whatever extent possible, they are the ones who are going to be the game changers, is what I feel.
Easier said than done though, because you mentioned about efficiency, power that comes with it. Do you also think that there is a little bit of laziness that comes with it, because you may tend to outsource some things to these powerful tools that you have, and then suddenly you feel like I don't need to do anything, and even the simplest emails that you want to write or thinking that you want to do about, let us say you're thinking about a name for your small project that you are going to do. Everything is nowadays outsourced to AI.
Absolutely.
Now, isn't that also a threat? How do you balance these two aspects of AI?
Yeah, well said, Amay. I think that's the biggest threat. Because I talked about delegation, but then you are not going to delegate ownership as well. So I think
I would say decision making.
Yeah. So you can still probably delegate some amount of decision making, but the governance has to be with you. The ownership still has to be with you, and only then you'll be able to probably get the outcomes that you are looking for. So laziness will happen if the delegation is 100%, because then you realize that I won't really have to own anything, because this is sitting right here doing everything for me, right? Let's make the most of it. Now I can just walk. You can speak, right?
I treat it different way, to be honest. So I see it aligning with people. So अभी recent elections हुए हैं, जो लोग वोट नहीं करते हैं और उनके नापसंद या पसंद वाले लोग आ जाते हैं इलेक्ट होके और वो काम नहीं करते, फिर वो लोग गाली देते हैं यार ये कुछ नहीं करता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. यही मेरे को लगता है कि एआई के साथ में भी अगर आप उस पर डिसीजन मेकिंग छोड़ दोगे तो वो वैसे भी आपके फेवर में काम नहीं करने वाला है. सो आई वुड ट्रीट इट, सो ही सेड इट एज अ सेकंड ब्रेन, आई वुड ट्रीट इट एज एन असिस्टेंट. व्हाई शुड आई लेवल इट अप टू अ ब्रेन आल्सो. तो मैं तो ये सोचता हूँ मेरे लिए वो असिस्टेंट है, मेरे लिए वो बाउंसिंग बोर्ड है. इट definitely helps in terms of bouncing some ideas or confusions I have. Because, sometimes some things you would want to keep it to yourself. You don't want to expose it to the world. But this is a good place where you can bounce out your ideas, talk to it. Now तो अभी तो ChatGPT वगैरह पे तो voice पे भी बताता है, आपसे बात कराता है. तो you can just throw ideas and get an answer. You get a cue, start working on that cue. But like he said, people are using it for writing emails, and without reading, sending it to the recipient is definitely a threat. Correct?
Yeah, I think. But then again, that's the creative aspect that it brings to the table. You can leverage it. So then if you're not reviewing those emails that are being sent, that is the issue I have, right? So that ownership is still with you. If I'm not good at English, I would want to get something written.
Correct.
Then review it myself and then send it, right? I'm using it because it's my thoughts. I'm just putting it across as a prompt, getting something in return. I review it and then I send it in. That for me is leveraging it in the right way. But then, if you're depending on it for all the thinking and for every ideation that you have been to the table, then maybe that is the other side of it, which again depends on how each person uses it and leverages it. So I don't know how we can control that, but at least going back to my earlier point is how we can spread the awareness, educate ourselves around it, and always make a big difference. I think he also mentioned about self-awareness sometime back. Just want to go back to that point. I think as individuals, one of my biggest learnings has been I always thought I was self-aware, right? But then over a period of time, I'll give you a recent example where we are not doing sales as great as possible. And I've come to both of you talking about this because I want to validate if my self-awareness is good enough, right? So I feel that unless and until our self-awareness is validated, what is happening around you, it is of no use, right? And I feel that self-awareness nowadays is increasing, but it's turning probably more into opinions and perspectives rather than validation of those opinions and perspectives also. So I think that also will reflect in the way AI is leveraged and how it's going to be used.
You also mentioned about how you yourself have learned a few things because of AI. Because you can have some ideas, you can learn English, as the example like you said. I've seen Praddyumna learn fairly different and new skills to what you've been doing in your career. Can you talk a little bit about this newfound learning teacher or whatever you want to call it?
The biggest thing that I always thought about is why do I have to step outside my role? The only reason that something is not happening as an entrepreneur, you always think, "Arey yaar, ye nahi ho raha, chal main jaake karta hu." That's not a great thing to have as a leader or an entrepreneur, because if you do everything, you will end up nowhere. But what I think is that if I'm able to understand it, what is required, I may be able to guide people. Okay, you might think, because what I have seen is that people who are working today are looking into the same direction that everybody has taught. The entire legacy, if you look at, everybody looks at from the same point. यार ये भी ऐसे करते तो मुझे भी ऐसे ही देखना है. बट मुझे लगता है कि यार थोड़ा सा एंगल देख के देखो, शायद पर्सपेक्टिव अलग दिखेगा. सो वो पर्सपेक्टिव खड़ा करने के लिए आपको कुछ नया ट्राई भी करना पड़ेगा, एक्सपेरिमेंट भी करना पड़ेगा, फेल भी होना पड़ेगा, शायद सक्सेस मिल जाए. एंड आई थिंक आई हैव बीन very lucky in terms of having both of you around me to talk about some things that I probably don't understand. So कुछ भी कोडिंग से रिलेटेड हो या डेवलपमेंट से रिलेटेड हो, मतलब एज स्मॉल एज कि इसका मतलब क्या होता है, इस डॉन का मतलब क्या होता है, ये काम कैसे करता है, इवन इन टर्म्स ऑफ हायरिंग. we have talked about a lot of things with regards to hiring कि ये hire करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए. Well, I don't belong to that background. So, but यही चीज है कि if you are not trying or if you don't look at for a particular thing from a different perspective, you will never be able to learn. And that's what I've been trying. So tomorrow, it would definitely help me to support my teams or when they talk to me. एक problem और है, जैसे for example, if I have a development team and if I don't understand the language that they speak, they would be very hesitant to speak to me every time. So even if I talk 10% of their language, they will be happy to talk to me. They might say something which I may not understand, but I will, even if I nod, okay, or if I throw some words from their field, they would love to talk to me on that aspect. Or I would ask them, okay, what does this mean? They would love to tell me something. So I think that shift from one domain to another domain and having some perspective, some ideas about different domain, which is not probably the main role for you, keeps me up to date with my team.
It definitely expands your horizons. You keep helping people. I know you do deal with so many creators, at times hundreds or even thousands for a particular campaign that you do. You spoke about networking. If somebody came to you today, let's say that zero network and zero budget, what advice would you give him if he wants to start? He or she wants to start their own company. Would it be personal branding? Would it be networking? What should people, just starting off, what should they invest in today's times?
Difficult question, but first I would think of identifying what would suit them. मेरी जिंदगी में मैंने जब करियर शुरू किया था तब मुझे लोगों ने बोला था कि तू डिजाइन कर सकता है, चांस ही नहीं था. राइटिंग कर सकता है, चांस ही नहीं था. सो एक ने बोला तू लोगों से बात कर सकता है. मैं कहा हाँ बहुत बात कर सकता हूँ. तो व्हाई डोंट यू ट्राई सर्विस? वो भी पता नहीं था. तो लाइक ये समझने के लिए आप लोगों से बात नहीं करोगे, लोगों से जानोगे नहीं, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप हर जॉब एक्सप्लोर करते बैठो. मैं ये बोलूंगा कि लोगों से समझो, बात करो कि क्या क्या फील्ड्स अपॉर्चुनिटीज मार्केट में अवेलेबल हैं, क्या मैं कर सकता हूँ. अपनी पर्सनैलिटी ट्रेट्स समझो कि आप क्या किस चीज में सही हो और किस चीज में आप गलत हो, या क्या वीकनेसेस है. एप्टीट्यूड टेस्ट, गिविंग इंटरव्यूज, अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट इज प्रोबेबली वर्किंग फॉर यू एंड व्हाट इज नॉट वर्किंग फॉर यू कैन गिव यू अ स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट. Obviously, to going ahead, things might change over the period, over the time, because when you meet people, your perspective changes. Then you understand, okay, in this I would probably not be able to do this. So कुछ भी हो सकता है. So people will have to first identify where to start and how to start, which will only done when they go and talk to people.
I think both of you brought up this important point of self-awareness a couple of times, and you also mentioned that self-awareness, others you said, doesn't happen by just your own opinions.
It's biased, no? It's biased. When you talk about yourself, you have biased opinion.
So you always need to have that humility and open mind to listen to others. So to know yourself, you need to probably just listen to others. Could be one aspect of it.
Yes.
Obviously, you need to do your own thinking, see what your strengths are, see what your weaknesses are. Do you agree, others? I mean, is that how you now go about your work?
Yeah, I think when I talk to most of my friends, most important thing I always talk about is the world needs listeners, right? So,
Somebody should start up. Somebody obviously.
you need that, because I think, and it's a good thing that, especially in India, we're starting to see people speak, people talk about ideas, opinions, voice them more openly than ever before.
Yeah.
I think that's what is keeping this whole environment, bubbly, ensuring that ideas grow and all those things are happening. But I think, again, validation is what it is. Going back to the earlier question as well, where somebody starting from zero, you have thoughts, you have ideas, you feel this is what I should do. There are various things happening, because to don't go and talk to somebody, validate them before you jump into it. Maybe you are at a loss starting there. Although starting is important. Just start. Then you realize what you need to do. But coming back to self-awareness, I think listening always helps, but at the same time, you have to know the people around you. You have to have a circle who will give you that feedback every now and then and say you are wrong or you need to do this better. You need to be able to trust them to that extent where you know that if they show you the mirror, they are telling you the right thing. I think in my case, just being honest again, when I was doing pretty well, and over a period of time, I somehow felt that the ego had crept in. Right, the moment I took the plan and wanted to start something on my own, I could see that I had a very high ego, right? But then reality happened. You struggle doing stuff. You struggle with the learning. Struggle with what's happening around you. The ego gets crushed. But that's when you have those people around you, show you the mirror and say, you do these things. These are your strengths. These are your areas that you need to work on. You move on from there. I think as long as you have those people around you, life is easy, right? So you can accomplish anything you need. You just have to focus and understand what that is. So that's what I would say.
I could add one more thing here, which is probably very critical, which I have probably been lucky in terms of starting from zero. लोग जब काम करना शुरू करते हैं, किसी चीज को शुरू करते हैं, तो वो 10 मेंटोर्स रखने की कोशिश करते हैं. मेंटोर्स की जरूरत है, बहुत क्रिटिकल पोजीशन है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है उनका. बट 10 लोगों की बात सुन के किसी एक को ब्लेम करना बड़ा अनएथिकल. तो मैं हमेशा सब लोगों को बताता क्या, किसी एक इंसान पे विश्वास करो. मतलब एक ही इंसान को ब्लेम करना पड़े. मतलब वो गलती तुम्हारी है कि तुमने उस इंसान पे ब्लेम किया. आप 10 लोगों के अगर मेंटोर बनाओगे तो हर एक को ब्लेम तो नहीं कर सकते, या किसकी गलती है आइडेंटिफाई कैसे करोगे? आप तो जीरो पर हो ना. तो किसी एक इंसान को मेंटोर बनाओ और वो जो बोले वो वैसा कर दे रहो. क्योंकि हमेशा ऐसा होता है कि कोई टीचर हमें सिखाता है या कोई कुछ बताता है हमें, तो हम ये सोचते हैं कि यार वो सही बता रहा है कि गलत बता रहा है. जो आई थिंक हमारे से पहले वाली जनरेशन थी, वो ये चीज शायद करती थी, उनकी लाइफ थोड़ी आसान थी. अब आपने मेंटोर बनाया ना, तो मेंटोर की पूरी बात 0 to 100 वैसी की वैसी मानो ना. लेट्स फेल, लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड. ही इज सिटिंग देयर टू आइडेंटिफाई, ओके यू आर फेलिंग इन दिस एरिया, आई शुड हेल्प यू इन दिस एरिया. So typically people don't rely on this. People start making opinions whether my mentor is giving me a right direction or not. So I think that's another important aspect when you are starting something. You should have one person. It can be your father, it can be your mother, it can be your teacher, it can be your friend, anybody. But you always listen to one person is what I always believe. 4 लोगों की बात सुन के कभी पता नहीं होती.
Well said. I mean, see, when you decide to start something new as an entrepreneur, you have some core skills, and let us say you also now have that one mentor, but you need a little bit more. You need to work with people, and many a times I've seen that entrepreneurs struggle in the people aspect. They have their skills, they come from a functional technology background, so they know their domain really well. But when it comes to taking people together, helping them help you, that could be a struggle. So are there any experiences that you guys had which you would like to share about your early days when you probably struggled to take people along? And as an add-on to this question, in today's world with all the AI agents where they will only listen to you, is this important at all to take people along and create a team, or will you now see one person $1 million company very soon?
You may see that. I think it's happening. But whether it is applicable to me, I won't survive without people. Right? So I think going back since my early days, even when I was going through a rough, I was a pretty sincere, obedient student till I completed my 10th. And life happens, right? I faced challenges. Then my sister or my brother-in-law pulled me out of the rut. Right? Then there were these friends around me all the time. Helped me sail through my engineering days. And, then Y2K hit, we had a huge issue with jobs then when we passed out and all those challenges, right? But then you had those friends who got through, they play you and help you out in those situations. And you got your job and you had your managers help you out. You had your colleagues, your peers help you out. And then, you become successful, and have your leaders help you out. So they coach you, they mentor you. So the only thing that this has taught me is you need people, right? And man is a social animal. So unless and until you have the kind of people around you, you can't really achieve much, right? I mean, you would still be sitting somewhere in a corner and doing that, but who do you share with? How do you really enjoy it? Again, depends from person to person, but this is how I look at it. And I think some of the challenges when you mentioned that I faced, especially in this journey, is when you start from zero, no matter what circle you have built, no matter the support system, people you have worked with in the past, there will be only a handful of them who will stick with you, right? So they will support you, will encourage you no matter what. And you will realize that very soon. It doesn't take time. So I think that's where I go back to the same point again and say, keep them close to you, right? Because they'll be there for you. But AI agents, whether they are going to help you with this kind of a situation, I don't think so. Yes, it's fun chatting with Gemini, ChatGPT, they act as your friend, and they give you lovely advice, right? But they will again never show you the mirror, right? I think balancing it out probably is the future, but for me, this is what works.
So I have a continued answer what I think about this. You mentioned about one person winning the game. I may say there are a lot of chances with the current technology front that is happening. तो हो सकता है एक आदमी सक्सेसफुल हो जाए, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये सक्सेस क्या काम की जॉब इसे शेयर ही ना कर। अगर उस सक्सेस में किसी टीम का कंट्रीब्यूशन ही नहीं है, वो सक्सेस को शेयर करने की जब किसी के पास जा नहीं सकते, तो वो सक्सेस किस काम की। दूसरा पर्सपेक्टिव ये भी है कि एक आदमी शायद सक्सेसफुल हो सकता है, बट क्या वो स्केल और ग्रो कर सकता है? आई डाउट। एग्जाम्पल्स होंगे, एज केसेस होंगे जहां पे लोगों ने ये करके भी दिखाया होगा, बट फॉर मी मैं तो शुरुआती लोगों से करी थी, इस डिस्कशन की भी शुरुआत मैंने लोगों से करी थी, तो मेरे लिए तो लोग मेरे आजू बाजू में होना बहुत जरूरी। टू योर सरप्राइज, मैं तो शुरू में जब मैंने मेरा पहला वेंचर शुरू किया था, मैं बड़ा फॉन्ड था कि मेरे को केबिन होगा, बट टू बी ऑनेस्ट मैं 4 दिन में वो केबिन छोड़ दिया और मैंने उसको कन्वर्ट कर दिया वर्किंग एरिया में, बिकॉज अकेले उस कमरे में बैठना वॉज मैडनेस। तो मुझे केबिन कभी भी पसंद नहीं आया। हाँ, मजा आता है कि आप उस जगह में बैठे हो अकेले, पूरे कमरे में बैठे हो और एंजॉय कर रहे हो, बट मेरे लिए तो शुरू से इम्पॉसिबल था। मेरे को साथ में लोग चाहिए, मेरे को बात करने के लिए लोग चाहिए, काम करते टाइम पे डिस्कशन के लिए लोग चाहिए। इम्पॉसिबल है, मतलब टीम के बिना होना तो बहुत मुश्किल है। बट लाइक ही सेड कि राइट पीपल इन द टीम would define the success that you achieve and how fast you achieve.
Very interesting and great hearing both of you. We wanted to talk a lot on the impact of AI, but I think the last couple of questions and what you've reinforced, the power of people around you, tells me that humans are here to stay, even though AI is currently seems like it is overwhelming and you're going to be living in a matrix very soon. But still, I mean, today I'm so happy because both of you have reinforced it for our younger generation that building companies, building startups, while it is difficult, what can make it easier is good people around you. What can make it worthwhile is sharing this success with people and not just hoarding all of the success. And great examples, great stories from both of you guys. Any last advice that you would want to give to students or youngsters who are looking to start their entrepreneurial journey in the next couple of months, let's say?
Any journey for that matter, I would say for now, because I think they're smart enough to know if they want to do entrepreneurial, what needs to be done. Probably they know more than what I do. But I think sticking to your core is equally important. Knowing what you've learned over a period of time and being able to communicate. I think the biggest skill, probably what I feel going forward, is going to be communication. Because how you write prompts, how you understand the context, how you solve problems, how do you troubleshoot. All these things are going to require that communication skill as well. At the same time, whether it's dealing with people, ideating, because you will be doing more of ideation in the future than ever before, because you have to understand ideas, you have to understand concepts, you have to be able to translate those concepts into good enough requirements and prompts and various other factors. So I think if you are stepping into software engineering, understanding the core fundamental concepts and being able to suddenly transition that to solutions. So when we went through the whole journey, there were multiple layers in between. Now those layers are completely diminished. So you have an idea, you have requirements, then you have all the tools to build solutions much faster, much quicker. So you're not going to have the liberty to sit, digest a lot of information and have enough time to go through the entire process like probably the seniors or the elders had. So how quickly you can understand this whole era and be able to adapt is going to help anybody who's starting fresh.
Absolutely. Great points about communication, adaptability, working with people. The whole engineering life cycle has been squeezed so much that I think there is now more emphasis on whatever is around it, right? I mean, and whatever is around it is still mostly to deal with people. So
I remember when we was talking about squeezing in the timeline. एक concept जो project मैनेजमेंट में बोला जाता है crashing the timelines. But मुझे ये लगता है कि वो crashing timelines का जो concept था, it always comes with a cost. So now in our real life, probably the cost would be large number of figures. You might lose people into when you're doing transitioning from that one point to another point or something else. But in to answer your question, I would say कि you spoke about journey. हम लोग कहीं भी जाना चाहते हैं तो हम उसके पहले प्रिपरेशन करते हैं. अगर वो एक दिन पहले की प्रिपरेशन होगी तो देयर आर हाई चांसेस दैट यू माइट मिस समथिंग व्हिच यू वांट टू कैरी ड्यूरिंग दैट जर्नी. बट इफ यू स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग अ लिटिल अर्ली, you will have enough time to think, okay, I'm going to do this, I need these two things. I'm going to do this, I would need these two things. So same entrepreneurial journey के लिए भी अगर आप prepare करोगे from all aspects, from, communicating like he said, but communicating with people, with colleagues, with, your seniors, your juniors. If you learn those skills, your entrepreneurial journey becomes much, much easier. If you do, you get out of college and become an entrepreneur, probably this would be a challenge for them to understand. वो बात कैसे कर रहे हैं. सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है जूनियर से बात कैसे करें, सीनियर से बात कैसे करें, या कलीग्स के सेम लेवल पे बात कैसे करें. अगर आप नौकरी करके आते हो तो फॉर हिम इट वुड बी वेरी वेरी इजी बिकॉज ही हैज सीन ऑल दोज स्टेजेस. सीनियर्स भी देखे हैं, जूनियर्स भी देखे हैं, सेम लेवल के कलीग्स भी देखे हैं, बहुत सारी एक्सपीरियंस. दीज एक्सपीरियंसेस आर giving him a easy time to play with his own team, which probably शायद जो लोग फर्स्ट टाइम एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप कर रहे हैं या एकदम जंप कर रहे हैं एजुकेशन के बाद में, उनको चैलेंज हो सकता. तो आई वुड ऑलवेज सजेस्ट पीपल टू लर्न फर्स्ट हाउ टू मैनेज पीपल, हाउ टू कम्युनिकेट विद पीपल ऑफ ऑल काइंड्स, सीनियर जूनियर सेम लेवल. और ये
so that prompts one more question. Let us say somebody doesn't want to start an entrepreneurial. You both are, working with a lot of people, you're hiring people, you're job creators. What kind of people would you give a job to if they don't have experience and if they're just raw out of the college? What kind of qualities or skills would you look into? Would they be different than what you just talked about from an entrepreneur perspective? Would there be some things that you look for more than others in your potential colleagues that you want to work with?
Another good question. I think
difficult to answer. Different timeline.
Yeah, but I feel it will be the same for me. I'll tell you why. Because we are a small team, right? You like to grow, obviously, but we are not going to grow highly in numbers. So for a small company like ours, we need independent individuals who can take ownership right from day one. Who takes ownership generally shows obviously a lot of entrepreneurial characteristics here. So it comes naturally. So whatever I kind of mentioned earlier still stays, because we are still looking for individuals who can take ownership from day one, are there, are proactive, have shown a lot of initiative taking abilities, right? Can take on any problem head on, address those challenges, show that we can solve this for you, or at least show the willingness to be able to take it to in a stage where they can seek help from people around them. And apart from all this, it is all about the technical abilities as well, which could be your core concepts, communication, as I said. Prompt engineering, context engineering goes hand in hand now, because you have to work with all these tools then. And then, of course, your troubleshooting and problem solving skills. So, again, if you look at it, if you map it, pretty much the same, where an entrepreneur needs these skills as well as somebody who's starting afresh will also probably require these skills. And I am looking at hiring anybody into my organization. So, for me, that's where I find it sometimes difficult to compare a job with what we do. Because even if you're in an organization, you can still exhibit this mindset, the same mindset, and you can still get things done. You may not have the entire support system around you, but I think the mindset can still be the same. And probably even if you're in a job and show this mindset, you might be much more successful than people around you as well.
I really want to thank both of you guys today for taking the time and sharing your stories so freely. Your humility, your attitude towards sharing and helping people grow is really commendable, and I hope it inspires our audience over here. So thank you so much, and I think we should do this more often. So thank you for your time once again, and we'll meet soon. Thank you.